Well, research is in agreement. Those who are dealing in this kind of research and these issues now believe that emotion actually provides the template that determines the active sites for genetic material, that emotion is the switch, it's the trigger turning off and turning on these codes of DNA. And the question comes up frequently in the West, well, what is the difference between emotion and feeling and thought? In the West, we have a conditioning that says feeling and emotion are almost one and the same. So as we're looking at what researchers are finding, they're saying that the parameters that allow for these changes are the qualities of the vibratory template held in our bodies. They're based in these three parameters: thought, feeling, and emotion. In the traditions of ancient mystery schools and the esoteric traditions, when they considered emotion, what they said in their texts is that we are capable of only two possible emotions. We're capable of the emotion that we call love and whatever we believe love's opposite is, whatever that means to us. Thought may be considered as a directional system, emotion may be considered as a power system, and feeling is present as the union of thought and emotion. So let me say that again, and I'm going to say this in a couple of different ways. We're considering thought, feeling, and emotion as the parameters, as the mechanisms that allow us to move patterns of energy in our bodies, to turn off and on these powerful genetic options. Essentially, we can consider emotion to be what we call the power system. It drives us forward in life. How does the emotion know where to go without something guiding it? And that's where thought comes in. Thought is the guidance system. It's possible to have one without the other. Thought without emotion has very little power. Let me give you an example. A few years ago, everyone was doing affirmations. They were very much in vogue. And they were fun affirmations. We'd wake up in the morning and we'd prepare ourselves for our day. We'd go to the bathroom mirror and we have little sticky tabs maybe all over the mirror that says, "My perfect mate is coming into my life now." And we'd say it about a bajillion times. And then we'd go maybe get into our car and drive to work, and those little stickies were hanging from the rearview mirror saying the same thing. And we get to work and they were all over our computer screens. And for some people, their affirmations didn't work. And they didn't know why. Well, this eloquent little model now that we're considering of thought, feeling, emotion may provide some insights. If the affirmation was simply the thought that says, "My perfect mate is manifesting for me now," and the emotion underlying that wasn't present, or maybe the emotion underlying that was, "Am I really good enough to have my perfect relationship now?" or something to that effect. Is it any wonder that the affirmation wasn't effective? The thought was there, and the emotion may have been something that actually disarmed the thought. So emotion may be considered a power source. It's magnetic. It's potential. Thought may be considered a guidance system. It's electrical, and it also is potential. Together, thought and emotion create the feeling. If you're having a feeling in your life, it says to you, you're having a thought and you're having an emotion. Do you know what the emotion really is? Do you know what you're really feeling? Do you know what you're really thinking? Technical people don't like to hear about thought, feeling, and emotion. They like to hear about electrical and magnetic charges and potentials and vectors. So thought may be considered electrical, potential. Emotion may be considered magnetic, potential. The union of electrical and magnetic potential is electrical and magnetic vector. It's a real experience. Emotion can be considered the power source, thought the guidance system. You put those together and you get your reality. Well, the ancients knew this, and it's very clear. As we go back and look in the texts from India, from Tibet, from China, even the American desert Southwest, with this new frame of reference, now we can look at their text and their traditions, and they said the same thing. They said that thought occurs in the upper energy systems of the body, that emotion occurs in the lower energy systems. And as the two come together, as they're merged, they find their place of merging in our hearts. And what I know from sharing this information with many people over many years is there are engineers and scientists that sometimes aren't comfortable with the word heart. It might sound too new agey. Well, we can also call our heart simply our 7-layer liquid crystal oscillator in the center of our bodies, and they're saying precisely the same thing. That this 7-layer liquid crystal oscillator, our heart, is the transformer where thought and emotion come together, where they merge into the union of a pattern that creates reality of our world. Because our heart is made of 7 alternating layers of striated muscle, one on top of another, liquid crystal. Because of the fluid content of the cells, it functions as a crystalline material, although it is not in a hardened state. It's a liquid crystal, an oscillator, because it is through our heart that we tune to these reference vibrations, this fundamental frequency of our Mother Earth. When Earth's pulse, 7.8 cycles per second, when that changes to 8 and to 9 and 11 cycles per second, it's our heart that perceives it and then sends the signals to our brain and the rest of our bodies that tune us to our Earth. So our heart functions in a very real sense as a biological oscillator. So the logic of our left and right brain, tempered by the wisdom of our heart, is what allows and opens the possibility of compassion in our lives. And now we have the beginning of a very powerful technology. Now, we live in a logic-based society. We've been conditioned in our past to view the world through logic, through left and right brain. Well, if we view the world strictly through left and right brain, we'll always interpret the world as separateness. We'll always see a left and a right, and a good and a bad, and a right and a wrong, and a light and a dark, and a male and a female. We may discern that those are present. If we view the world through left and right brain, we'll judge that that's our reality. And what the ancients say to us very clearly, the Essenes were masters of this. They said, yes, logic is key, and logic is incomplete until it's tempered with something else. That the logic of our left and right brain must be tempered with a wisdom that comes from our hearts. The wisdom that comes from our 7-layer liquid crystal oscillator. It's the union of logic and emotion that allows us access to this technology. Well, it's not just any old thought, feeling, and emotion that optimize this technology. There is a science, and it's a very real science. Now, I use the word science intentionally when I share this. There's a science that allows us to create the optimum patterns of thought, feeling, and emotion in our bodies. And again, we're invited, we're asked, do we really know, are we conscious of what we think, feel, and emote each moment in our lives? In every moment of life, we have the opportunity to affirm or deny life in our bodies through the choices that we make. Do we know, are we conscious of those choices as they cross our paths? Are we so conditioned, or are some of the choices so automatic? Maybe we do them because we've always done them. We're making the choices now that determine whether or not we carry that technology across this threshold, the membrane that we call 0 point, that the ancients called the shift of the ages. And that is the opportunity of this time in history.